When your progress stalls in the gym, it's more than just frustrating. It's costing you gains. If you don't fix it fast, months will go by and you'll still look the same in the mirror, lift the same weight in the gym, and weigh the same on the scale. In this video, I'll show you how to break a plateau fast so you can get back to building muscle as soon as possible. Step 1 is to fix your diet. When someone hits a plateau, the majority of the time it's because their diet is not on point. Specifically, how much protein you're eating. You want to make sure that you're eating 0.8 to 1 grams per pound of body weight of protein every single day for optimal muscle growth. If you're not eating this amount, you're definitely inhibiting how much muscle that you're building. And honestly, unless you're focusing on eating this amount and tracking every macro you eat, you're probably not eating enough. I use the app called Macro Factor to track my macros, and the one thing that I like about it is that I can go back and see the trends of how much protein that I'm eating in the past few weeks or the past few months. And this allows me to see if I'm messing up. So if you're tracking your macros right now, that's one thing that you can do is look back in your history of some of the apps and see how much protein you're actually eating. If you're not eating that 0.8 to 1 gram per pound of body weight, this is where I'd start, as you're not getting enough in to build muscle optimally. Another thing to keep in mind when it comes to your diet is if you're doing a cut and you've been doing a cut for a while, or you're in a big caloric deficit, then your problem is you'll likely need to do a refeed to bring up your glycogen levels. So what I do here is for a couple weeks, eat at a caloric maintenance or even slightly in a caloric surplus. And doing this for a couple weeks is going to help you get your strength back so you can keep hammering out the weights in the gym. Step number 2 is to increase your frequency. So if you go to the gym 5 or 6 times per week, this tip doesn't apply to you. But if you go 3 or 4 times per week or even less than that, then what I would do in your situation is add another day that you go to the gym. So if you go 3, go 4 now. If you go 4, go 5 now. This increase in frequency will get you over the plateau. I'd run this new frequency for a month, 2 months. And then after that, after you notice your strength is consistently going up again, then you can switch back to the 3-day per week or the 4-day per week, whatever you're running before. Step 3 is to deload and recover. So unlike the last step, if you've been pushing yourself really hard and lifting heavy and you're starting to feel fatigued, you may actually have the opposite problem and you might need to back off a little bit and allow your body to recover. A deload is the perfect opportunity to do this. So typically on a deload week, what I do is I lift 70% of my working weight. So if I were to do a 100-pound bench press, on my deload week, I'd lift 70 pounds. And at the same time, I'd cut my reps and my sets in half. Just one, not both. So back to the bench press example. Say normally I lifted 10 reps for 4 sets. On a deload week, I'd either do 5 reps for 4 sets or 10 reps for 2 sets. I do this for an entire week and then I'd return to my normal lifting schedule. Aside from this, you want to make sure your recovery is on point as well. So outside of the gym, you want to make sure you're getting great sleep, at least 7 to 9 hours per night, and limiting stress as much as possible. If those 2 things are not on point and you're noticing yourself in a plateau, that could definitely be the reason. Step number 4 is to change up the stimulus. So if you've been doing the same thing over and over again for a while in the gym, same exercise routine and same amount of reps every week, then your body's probably adapted to that. And in order to drive new adaptation and muscle growth, you need to change the stimulus that you put on your muscles. So you can do this in 2 ways. First of all, you can change up your rep range. So if you're normally lifting 12 reps, you'd lower the reps to 8 and increase the weight. Or if you normally lift 6 reps, you'd lower the weight and increase the amount of reps you do. This is going to add a new stimulus to your muscles. Typically what I do to make sure a plateau never happens because of this is switch up my rep scheme every 4 weeks. So right now I'm doing heavy weight for 6 reps. In a week or two from now, because I've already done this for a week or two, I'll raise the amount of reps I do to 12 and lower the amount of weight that I'm lifting. And then 4 weeks after that, I will increase the amount of weight and lower the reps to 8. This way, I'm always adding that new stimulus. The second way to change the stimulus is to change the exercise that you're doing. So if you've been doing barbell bench press for a while, you might want to change things up to a dumbbell bench press or a chest fly or any other chest exercise that's going to add a different stimulus to your chest muscles. Now, you don't have to do this forever. If you like barbell bench pressing, you can do this until you start seeing the weight go up in the other exercise that you switch to, and then you can switch back to the barbell bench press after 3-4 weeks. And at that point, the barbell bench press will be a new stimulus because you haven't done it in a few weeks. So it'll technically be a new stimulus at that point. The next point is to redefine progressive overload. A lot of guys think that the only way to progressive overload is to add weight to the bar, and that's just not true. At a certain point, you're no longer going to be able to add 5 pounds to the bar. And if you don't get creative with the ways that you do progressive overload, you're going to hit a plateau and not be able to get past it. If you hit this point where you can't add any more weight, then it's time to increase the amount of reps you do. To be honest, increasing the reps and the weight will get you 90% of the way there. And you can run this system for a long time. However, if you hit a point where you can no longer increase the weight or the reps, then it's time to add another set. Now, the problem with adding another set is you can only add so many sets before it gets useless. So when you hit the 4 or 5 set mark, then it's time to add a new stimulus into this. And at that point, the only 2 options you really have are to slow down your tempo, how fast you're lifting the weight, or decrease your rest periods. Doing each of these things will help you get past the plateau. Now, honestly, you probably don't have to get that far. Adding reps or sets is going to get you far enough. However, you can progressive overload in more than just those 2 ways. You can do any one of these things that I just mentioned. Aside from this, you should also make sure that your form is dialed in. One reason that you might be hitting a plateau is that you are ego lifting and not doing a full range of motion. If you're not hitting your full range of motion, you're going to be doing more harm than good when it comes to muscle growth. So definitely make sure that you are doing a full range of motion. And if you're not, lower the weight and get that full range of motion in, and then you can start adding weight again. Doing that alone will help you get past the plateau. Lastly, another mistake that people make is when it comes to intensity. They just don't train hard enough, or they train too hard. So you typically want to be in the 1 to 2 reps away from failure mark every set that you do. Or honestly, sometimes you might even want to take a set to failure. You don't want to take every set to failure, as this is very fatiguing, and the start of the workout will look great, but then when you hit the end of the workout, you won't have any energy. So typically 1 to 2 reps away from failure is the sweet spot. Obviously, you need to go to failure to see what this feels like, and then you'll have an idea. But make sure you're going in that range. A lot of people stay well below this and are not working hard enough in the gym. And then when they stop seeing muscle growth and hit a plateau, they wonder why. So this is another thing to watch out for. Now, one problem with a plateau is it can be very hard on you mentally. If you're not making progress, it can be easy to give up and not be putting full effort into a workout. So to avoid that, I definitely recommend joining my free fitness accountability group. There's a bunch of guys in there. We can all hold you accountable to hitting your goals and keep pushing even though you might not be seeing progress on the day-to-day. I also just dropped a new video on the best split to build an aesthetic physique, so definitely recommend checking that out, and don't forget to click subscribe.